Part 49. Planting trees for all, 3 consecutive SSS-level talents at the beginning. Author, Immortal. Chapter 481. This thick death energy actually formed an extremely large abyss after just a slight accumulation. The members of the Akatsuki organization couldn't help but gasp after seeing this abyss. If they don't have the protection of the guardian angel, they just use their bodies to resist the abyss, then. Such a frightening blow, if it fell on them, they would have died long ago, right? The strength of this monster seems not to be underestimated, everyone must be careful. Fortunately, we have the protection of the president, otherwise we may be in serious trouble. How is your situation? There is no problem on my side. These dogheads are very annoying, and we must find a way to remove some of them. Let's join forces and try to focus our sword power to see if we can break through Gaotu's defense. Soon, the members of the Akatsuki organization stood together and cooperated, and the swords in their hands burst into light. A bright sword intent slashed at a dog head in front of them. The sword light gathered together and exploded. A ray of light erupted. The dog head had the aura of death all over his body. When he was struck by the sword light, a skull was instantly pierced through his chest. His eyes widened and he fell to the ground. It works. Bai Yu's eyes lit up slightly and said. As expected of the fruit given to us by the president, it is really useful. Anil said okay for a while, and seemed very excited when he saw that the attack effect actually worked. Sword God template, forever a god. Xiao Chang'an couldn't help but sigh. Is one sword not powerful enough? So, 7 swords, simultaneously stimulating the sword intention of the sword god template. It is always enough to meet the requirements of this level of swordsmanship, right? The dog's head was shot through the chest, and a staff fell out and appeared in front of everyone. It's a pity that this is a wand used by magicians. It probably requires at least the level of a mage saint before it can be used. Su Qing picked up the staff, checked it with a monocle, checked the information about the staff, and sighed slightly. Magician. Xiao Chang'an secretly felt regretful. There is no magician profession among their team. Even if there are some related to mana, the attainment of magic power is probably not even that of a great mage, and there is a huge gap between him and the magic saint. Suddenly, the message panel sent by Lu Shu popped up in front of everyone. President of the Akatsuki organization, you have done well. I have given each of you a fruit as a gift. I believe you will get some good harvests there. Then. Ding. 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 Several beeps echoed in the ears of everyone in the Akatsuki organization. They immediately opened the panel to check and found that Lu Shu gave each of them a Dharma God template fruit as a gift. After the sword god, another god comes. And it's the god of Dharma. Wouldn't it be possible to use the staff that exploded when killing the dog's head? The members of the Akatsuki organization immediately showed a look of joy on their faces. Ha 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 ha, it turned out to be the Dharma God template fruit. It seems that I will not only become the sword god, but also the Dharma god. Long live the president. President, you will always be a god. There are really all kinds of fruits. If you can become a Dharma god, those old guys from the wizard gang, even Dumble, will be nothing more than that in our eyes, right? Everyone swallowed the Dharma god template fruit. This fruit is even more violent than the sword god template fruit. After eating it, everyone's bodies immediately opened up a huge magic space and a vast source of spiritual power. Continuously converting into magic power. Does it feel good? It feels so good. Before this, most of the members of the Akatsuki organization had received spiritual growth fruits presented by Lu Shu. Therefore, most of their spiritual power levels had reached SSS level, some even reached the semi-saint level. Most of them can be promoted to great magi stirs. A few can even become half-magic saints. Although to use the staff, theoretically speaking, you need to reach the level of magic saint level, but that is based on the premise of exerting 100% of the power of this staff. What if it is only necessary to exert 50% of the power? For a sacred tree master of their level, just relying on the blessing of this staff, you can defeat Dumbview. This is definitely the highest grade staff in the world of divine tree masters. It comes from the abyss with more than 500 coordinates, and has the shadow of myth. Su Qing, please give me this staff. I have the level of a semi-holy magic saint and can exert 80% of the power of this staff. I have a way to restrain these bullies. Xiao Chang'an immediately sent a message to Su Qing. Su Qing nodded and gave the staff to Xiao Chang'an without hesitation. After so many days of tacit cooperation, the members of this team have enough trust in each other. Anyway, in the end, everyone's strength is almost the same, there is just a slight difference, but the benefits are basically shared equally. After all, they all obtain their strength from Lu Shu, and everyone is similar to each other, so naturally there will be no differences. A balanced mentality. Xiao Chang'an got the staff and instantly burst out with a powerful wave of mana. The breath of death spread out from the staff and turned into a huge net, covering these dog heads. Past. Planting trees for all, 3 consecutive SSS-level talents at the beginning. Author, Immortal. Chapter 482. Bang bang bang. 2 powerful streams of death energy collided together, and the decay suddenly filled the air crazily, leaving deep pits one after another on the earth. Su Qing's eyes moved slightly, and her single eye continuously analyzed the data in front of her. The president is using magic power to counteract the attacks of these dog heads. Although their attacks cannot have much impact on us, if their numbers are added up, they will also restrict our actions. If we don't have the protection of the guardian field and just use our own abilities to fight against the decaying breath of death, then maybe within 10 seconds, we will fall into a state of heart failure due to the massive loss of vitality in the body. If we don't use any powers or props to resist, it won't even take a second. Our physical body will completely turn into a pile of rotting meat, slowly melt into the soil, and completely disappear from this world. This passage was transmitted from the communication device to everyone's ears, and all the members couldn't help but take a breath. Anil said tremblingly, it turns out that these attacks we faced are so harmful. Is it big? I am protected in this light shield, but I don't feel anything. Bayu praised as expected of our president, he directly maxed out our defense attributes and then dealt with these ugly monsters. This is to let us see more powerful enemies and improve our strength by dealing with them. Combat capability also makes us understand our own insignificance. The prodigal sword, damn it, I'm here to lure the python away. Something interesting seems to have happened over there. Wait, you guys seem to have swallowed the Dharma God template fruit. How about that fruit? It's delicious. Well, will your strength increase greatly after eating it? Why do you talk so much nonsense? Xiao Chang'an was speechless and couldn't help but complain, wait a minute, it's not appropriate for you to just stand aside and watch me deal with these monsters here. Kill them quickly and take the staff. Let's go and deal with these monsters. Ahem, we'll be there soon. The others also coughed a few times in embarrassment. It turns out that the captain picked up the staff just to hold back the monsters. He thought he could just kill all the monsters. However, the god of magic template fruit, their strength has not been upgraded to the level of Dharma god, but is at the level of Dharma saint. It is not as lethal as the sword god template. It's just, using the same death spell, and the breath of death revealed by the dog-headed staff, they interact with each other. The most important thing is to pull and tie, and to make more space for teammates to output. Even so, Xiao Chang'an's magic power is being consumed rapidly and cannot withstand the test for too long. The other members, and also know that the movements in the hands must be fast. Let's go together and kill those monsters. Bai Yu took a deep breath, and the ancient sword in her hand emitted bursts of dazzling light. The endless sword intent condensed on her body, and a shadow of the sword emerged from behind. The sword intent, sword intention, actually merged together without any contradiction, and merged into an incomparable fighting intention, which made people feel extremely frightened. Xiao Chang'an's eyes showed surprise and fell on Bai Yu. Something moved in my heart. To be able to fuse such powerful sword intent and sword skills together, and finally burst out in the form of fighting intent. This should not be a fruit of the president, an ability that can be given away. Who is this girl? Her strength looks so extraordinary. In Anil's hands, strange control lines appeared. As she gently pulled these filaments and wrapped them around the bodies of the dog heads, the moving bodies of these huge monsters gradually became slower. It's like a chain is wrapped around the whole body, imprisoning the movement. What a powerful bondage skill, and this girl's mental strength seems to be different. Su Qing wore a monocle and analyzed the abilities of Bai Yu and Anil respectively. These abilities are not the fruits of the sacred tree presented by Lu Shu, but the fruit abilities condensed from their own sacred tree. However, no matter how powerful other people's abilities are, after all, it is the ability planted by one's own sacred tree that is the most convenient and easy to use. After Anil and Bai Yu swallowed the spiritual fruit of the Lu tree respectively, their spiritual power has also been greatly improved. And after realizing higher level power through stronger superpower fruits, they also have a new understanding of the use of their own abilities. Therefore, their own superpowers are even more powerful when used. The dog's head was tightly entangled by Anil's puppet strings, and its power was reduced by more than half. Xiao Chang'an took a long breath. It was only then that he felt the pressure on himself and relaxed a lot. But the battle is not over yet, there are still several dog heads standing there, ready to attack them. Start to act. Bai Yu commanded coldly. Xiao Chang'an was in deep danger and could not command for the time being, so Bai Yu naturally took over this right. She had always been like this when she was in Fenjian Guild. I don't know why, but when I heard after Bai Yu's words, everyone subconsciously followed her request. It was like a mysterious temperament that could drive people around. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Planting trees for all, 3 consecutive SSS-level talents at the beginning. Author, Immortal. Chapter 483. Boom. 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 Voices sounded one after another, and under Bai Yu's command, everyone launched an attack on these dog heads. The bright sword light almost covered the entire sky, like meteors streaking across the battlefield, leaving big dark holes in the chests of the dog heads. Around the sword light, the broken flesh exuded bursts of deathly energy, decayed and rotten, and also gave off a roasting smell. It looked extremely horrifying. Lu Shu stood above the airship, watching the battle in the distance, with an unpredictable smile on his face. Progress, not bad. At this time, the prodigal sword also ran far away, and the giant python suddenly stopped at this moment. Hey, big guy, what are you looking at there? Come on, hit me, come on. The prodigal sword looked like he was in need of a beating, and kept raising his middle finger to the python. This terrible gesture seemed to be effective no matter in the previous life, the Grey World, or for these weird and intelligent alien races. A very high taunting effect, I have to say. This is also a very rare thing. However, this time the ridicule did not achieve the expected effect. The python glared at the prodigal sword angrily, with a murderous look that couldn't be concealed. However, it did not continue to attack the prodigal son's sword. Instead, it maintained its rationality and slowly moved towards the center of the battlefield of other sacred tree masters. Oh, why are you leaving? Are you afraid of me? Hey, can't you beat me? Isn't it a shame to run so fast? The old lady can't run as fast as you, so come back. Liang Zijian started to talk a lot, and even said some things that were so eloquent that they were still chattering. For a moment, the other teammates wanted to shut down the resonance, otherwise, they would. I'm afraid I really can't help it and want to hang up this guy who deserves a beating and give him a beating. It's a waste for this guy to practice swordsmanship. He should practice the Dao of ridicule, learn Confucianism, be refined, easygoing, and speak well. You can follow your magic, rely on sweet words, turn into lotus flowers all over the sky, and vomit your opponents to death. This is the future you should have. As the giant python ran away into the distance, it paused slightly and turned back to stare angrily. The prodigal sword. For a moment, the giant python really seemed to rush over and bite this guy who needed a beating to death. But thinking about the yellow light shield on this guy, it was simply too weird. No matter how hard he bit, there didn't seem to be any. There is a way to break through this annoying defense. So, I had to leave angrily. After all, on the other side of the battlefield, many dog heads have been eliminated. If the giant python does not dare to go back, then the pyramid will be in danger. Although it has its own wisdom and consciousness, it seems that it cannot completely escape the influence of the presence of the pyramid. Therefore, it moves its huge body, rolling up layers of thick dark clouds in the sky, towards the other side of the battlefield, flew over. The movements of the prodigal sword also gradually slowed down, and he slowly retracted the taunting finger. His expression became calm and solemn again. He pressed the communicator next to his ear, and spoke. Report back. All departments, please note that this python has returned to its original path. It is estimated that we will reach the other side of the battlefield in less than 10 minutes. But if I go there by myself, it will take about half an hour. You must be more careful. Receive. Receive. Soon, the other members of the Xiao organization also received the message sent by the prodigal sword, and the movements in their hands became faster. If it was just a python, with their current strength, they should be able to deal with it, right? With that, the sword light continuously penetrated the dog head's body, and the endless wails echoed in the sky. Reminders kept popping up in front of each member like flashes. You killed the desert dog head and obtained the death staff, magic saint level, X1. You killed the desert dog head and obtained the death staff, magic saint level, X1. You killed the desert dog head and obtained the death staff, magic saint level, X1. Su Qing, this is the staff for you. Baiu, this is yours. Anil, pick it up. The members of the Akatsuki organization, after killing the dog's head with a sword, instantly opened the transaction panel and gave free death staffs to their teammates. The death staffs are staffs that reach the level of magic saints. Regardless of their strength, it is impossible to reach the magic saint level, but as long as you consume a certain amount of mental power, as long as you can hold the staff and use the power contained in it, you can reach the magic saint level. Most of the dog-headed attacks are waving the staff. It exudes the aura of decay and kills the intruders in front of you. However, if they have similar powers, then they will naturally cancel each other out. Have you ever heard of the principle that like repels? With each person holding a staff, the dog-head suppression of the members of the Akatsuki organization becomes weaker and weaker. Later, everyone has a death staff, and there is no need to be afraid of the breath of death. Xiao Chang'an looks when the time is almost up. He relaxes his staff, takes a deep breath, breaks out of the encirclement of the dog-headed army and breaks through. He joins the battle and starts a killing spree with his teammates around him. Planting trees for all, 3 consecutive SSS-level talents at the beginning. Author, Immortal. Chapter 484. All of us immediately concentrated on using our staffs to isolate all the death breath from these dog heads. Xiao Chang'an commanded with a serious expression. Good. The members of the Akatsuki organization nodded one after another. With this staff, the overall combat effectiveness of their combat team has been greatly improved. Now, even without the protection of the Guardian Angel's domain, they will not be protected by the erosion of the aura of death. Because, this and the staff can contain enough aura of death. The same attributes cancel each other out, and there is basically no problem of erosion. By the way, because of their mental power extremely high, and after swallowing the God of Magic template fruit, their talent in magic has become very strong. When the death staff falls into their hands, it can play a greater role than the dog head. Roar. The dog heads let out bursts of roars. They felt that their companions were being killed by sword rays, their weapons fell into other people's hands, and they were suppressed by humans with the same attributes, and they became extremely angry. The death energy on his body is like a volcano erupting again, constantly spewing out. Kill. A sword light flashed in Xiao Chang'an's hand and penetrated the chest of a dog head again. As the number of dog heads became less and less, the members of the Xiao organization felt more relaxed in dealing with it. Lu Shu stood on the side of the airship. Above, looking at the battle below, he nodded and smiled. It's faster than I expected. In fact, he has already defeated Xiao Chang'an and others. After killing the dog head, he will be qualified to fight against this copy. His Dharma God template fruit and his attainments in magic are no joke. Look, Merlin, he was in awe. Not to mention swallowing these fruits and using them to deal with these dog heads. Of course. What he didn't expect was that the power of the Dharma God template fruit was beyond his imagination, and it actually affected the people here. The native abyss monsters can all achieve the effect of suppressing it. You must know that this kind of death aura of the same attribute should be their talent for dog heads and giant pythons. If you want to defeat others' unique abilities in other people's fields, talent is a very difficult thing. It is enough to see that if the Dharma God template fruit continues to develop and reaches the realm of Dharma God, its power may far exceed Lu Shu's own expectations. However, the big guy who appears next will not be so easy to deal with. Lu Shu looked up at the sky and said quietly, "Rumble! Rumble!" At this moment, dark clouds covered the sky, and the huge python returned to the battlefield. It was covered with there are huge scales one after another, and the airship's largest and most powerful missiles are no different from being tickled when they explode on it. Oh, no. It should be said, it may not even feel like it is being tickled. Unlike the dog head, the giant python relies entirely on its own huge body to move and does not have fancy magical properties. This kind of melee monster is a huge test for the sacred tree masters here. Xiao Chang'an looked solemnly staring at the giant python. He retreated to everyone in the Akatsuki organization and said in a deep voice, "This monster's attack power and basic attributes are too strong. With our current data, it may not be able to break armor. Moreover, the opponent is made up of energy bodies, not a real monster, and naturally does not have any shortcomings. The only way is to kill the monsters in the pyramid. However, this giant python will definitely prevent us from passing by, and we must find a way to hold it back. However, the body of the giant python is so big. It moves like a mountain. Just imagine, when the mountain is about to move, who can stop it? It cannot be killed or stopped. This huge threshold, like an unsolvable problem, spanned in front of the members of the Akatsuki organization. Everyone in the team couldn't help but fell silent, lowering their heads and thinking about coping strategies. Suddenly, Baiyu opened his Byakugan. Her eyes moved slightly, and through this special vision, she saw the activities of the giant python, and found a possibility of coping with it. "I have an idea, maybe I can try it." Baiyu conveyed her meaning to everyone. "I found that the death staff we have, if used with binding magic, is actually effective against monsters of the same attribute. Before, Gaotu was good at using this kind of magic, but we collectively suppressed it. I don't know if you still remember it. Maybe it's the Dharma God template fruit that the president gave us to swallow, which makes us qualified to fight against them. Speaking of this, the eyes of the members of the Akatsuki organization also suddenly lit up. That's right. There is no relationship between who restrains who among the same attributes. It depends on who can use it well and who has a higher status. Unprecedented. After swallowing the magic god template fruit, everyone's magical attainments have a very high bonus, and even using the same magic power to fight against the dog heads, they can suppress them. So, why can't it be done? What about suppressing the python? Although the python is stronger, there is only one of them, and it may not be so many dog heads higher in terms of position. If the Akatsuki organization uses some members, it can restrict the actions of the python, then, the other group of people can enter the pyramid again and kill the boss they want to finally solve. Planting trees for all, 3 consecutive SSS-level talents at the beginning. Author, Immortal. Chapter 485. Let's go together and try to use the Death Winding Chain spell to see if we can successfully organize this big guy. Xiao Chang'an gave the order, and the teammates behind him immediately gathered their energy and spread around, chanting ancient and obscure mantras. The death staff suddenly burst out with a burst of death energy. The ink-colored chains composed of mantras moved rapidly. The ground spread upward, soon covering the entire sky, and wrapped around the giant python. Roar! The giant python roared angrily, and its whole body began to struggle crazily. All the sacred tree masters felt a sense of difficulty. Concentrate your strength on its movable joints and I'll send you the location. Bai Yu shouted softly, opened her eyes, and passed all the data she obtained to other members of the Akatsuki organization through resonance. Only then did everyone discover. It turned out that the distribution of energy light groups on the giant python was inconsistent. Yes. Where the core joint moves, the aura of death is very strong. Under Bian's vision, it is a group of deeper black spots. Bai Yu said loudly, all the magic power in our body restricts the movement of that joint here, we may be able to successfully limit the python's movements. Hearing this, everyone's eyes lit up. Yes, if the joints of a creature are locked, it will no longer be able to attack. When I was learning martial arts, I also had tutorials on grappling. As long as you take down the opponent's movable joints, you can make the opponent lose the ability to attack. That's right, next we focus our efforts on locking the python's joints to prevent it from moving freely. Give it a try, maybe it will work. The members of the Akatsuki organization felt excited in an instant, chanting mantras one after another, changing the flow of magic power. The ink-colored chains suddenly seemed to be given life, winding towards the python's moving joints. Click. 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 Several sounds of confinement sounded. The ink-colored chains seemed to have extremely strong confinement power and were stuck at the joints of the giant python. The latter suddenly let out an angry cry. It felt my ability to move my body is weakening crazily, and I feel like I can't use the power in my body. I struggle again. It turns out that with the power of the giant python, all members of the Akatsuki organization can even use the chain spell. Wen can't wrap around his whole body. He can shake his huge body casually and rely on his own strength to break free from the chains, or make the sacred tree master feel extremely overwhelmed and unable to support the continuation of the magic spell. But aimed at the joints, but the python couldn't break free. Because the power was concentrated at key points. After locking the python's force point, it was equivalent to only consuming 1% of the effort to achieve the desired 100%, the effect of 200. When everyone saw this scene, they couldn't help but show joy. Ha ha ha, it really works. Look, the giant python can't move. Yes, is it so magical? I really can't move. You see, the python's joints are all locked. Now he has no strength, but he can't try it out. I feel like we don't even need all of us to release the spell to lock each other, only 5 of us are enough. My sister's pupil power is so powerful. I can directly see the opponent's flaws, which saves me a lot of trouble. The members of the Xiao organization did not shy away from their praises, and gave Bai Yu a thumbs up. Bai Yu's crystal clear cheeks like goose eggs were covered with a layer of blush, and she looked a little shy. Modestly said, "As a member of the Akatsuki organization, everyone is a comrade in arms, and it is natural for them to provide their own strength in the face of the common enemy." Suddenly, after she said this, she was slightly stunned. "Why, does staying in the Akatsuki organization give me a special sense of belonging?" "Yes, in Fenjiun Guild, everyone's abilities are different. It is shared, so your own abilities can be used by others, so there is nothing special about it. Everyone is an excellent divine tree master, and they come together to complete the task." "What did you get in the copy?" After receiving the shocking benefits, everyone would discuss it and divide it together. Sometimes they would feel sulky because they couldn't get what they wanted, giving people the feeling that they were working for nothing. Although the Fenjiun Guild was relatively good, but Bai Yu still thinks that they are his partners, not real partners. But, within the Akatsuki organization, this feeling is completely different. Although everyone has gained incredible benefits from the President Fruit ability, but still relied on his own ability to contribute to the organization and find the meaning of his existence. Unknowingly, Bai Yu felt that his feelings for the Akatsuki organization had surpassed Fenjiun Guild, and even towards his surrounding partners. Even more recognition. This feeling. Bai Yu also found it a bit incredible, but after thinking about it, she smiled slightly in her heart. "That's pretty good, isn't it?" At this moment, on the horizon, a figure flying with a sword rushed here quickly. The man shouted, "Brothers, you must hold on. I, the prodigal son's sword, am coming to save you right now. Let's all work together to repel the python." Before he finished speaking, he saw a python suspended in the sky, stuck in a corner, motionless, and his eyes suddenly froze. The script is wrong. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Planting trees for all, 3 consecutive SSS-level talents at the beginning. Author, Immortal. Chapter 486. I saw the big python on the horizon, imprisoned in place by the black incantation chain, motionless. Those ferocious eyes looked back at the huge snake head. When it saw the prodigal sword, its whole body struggled again. It looked quite angry, as if it couldn't wait to kill. Isn't it? The prodigal sword's previous taunting ability can basically be said to be maxed out. Now, the python was restrained by the death chain and could not move. In the blink of an eye, it saw its enemy again and almost died of anger. As arrogant as it is, at this moment, it is being played with like a toy by humans, and it has no power to fight back. The prodigal sword now appears in front of the python, without any need to take any action, just standing there casually, like the full-level taunt mode is turned on. It's a pity, the python didn't even have the ability to move. It struggled back and forth, but to no avail. And it was ridiculed so much. The level of discomfort is simply unimaginable. How did you deal with this python? Isn't it too strong? Liang Zijian opened his mouth and looked at Bai Yu and others, as if he had been separated for 3 days, and he must be looking at each other with admiration. A burst of dark light burst out in front of Xiao Chang'an. The death staff appeared in his hand. He threw the death staff towards the prodigal son's sword and said, "This is the death staff we exploded from the dog head. Now that we have the Dharma God template fruit, our magical attainments can be said to be quite astonishing. Use this staff to cast the magic of undead entanglement to seal the energy joints of the giant python. In this way, you can successfully restrain this big guy and make him unable to move at all. Liang Zijian immediately took over the staff. The inside of the death staff has unlocked the binding of the divine tree master. He can immediately put it into his warehouse and bind it to the system. Soon, Luang Zijian will use the death magic. The staff became his exclusive weapon. He waved it around for a while, and the ink-colored breath of death spurted out from the staff, turned into a chain again, and slapped the giant python on the face. Snap! Snap! Bang! Several sounds rang out in succession. The members of the Akatsuki organization couldn't help but take a breath. The prodigal sword was actually using a staff to form a whip and hit the giant python in the face. Roar! The giant python made a heartbreaking sound. Because it felt extremely embarrassed, it wanted to kill the prodigal sword immediately. It's the kind of person who can't get rid of the hatred in his heart even if it's cut into pieces with 1,000 cuts. It's a pity, no matter how big it is. Anger, even when extremely angry, cannot break free from the chains and shackles. It can only be locked there, motionless, staring at the prodigal sword, trying to kill with eyes. If eyes can kill, then the prodigal sword may have died countless times. Ha 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 ha, is magic so interesting? The prodigal sword showed an interesting expression. To be honest, as a swordsman and a sacred tree master, he has a special liking for swordsmanship and has never been too interested in other disciplines, such as magic. But he felt an extremely comfortable feeling from the evil taste of magic, and his prejudice against magic gradually changed. Tisk tisk, silly big guy, don't you like to bite me? Now continue to bite me? Let me see if you can bite or not. I will stand here and bite you, can you come? Ha 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 ha. How? You've been hit so many times by me and you don't have any reaction at all? Hey, that's so fun. Let me hit you a few more times. The prodigal sword whipped down the python a few times and kept hitting the giant python's face. Although it couldn't cause substantial damage to it, the insult and ridicule level was basically maxed out. Relieve your anger. Although there is the protection of the guardian angel, you will not be attacked by this giant python, nor will you be fatally injured by its bite. But, do you want to play with being chased and beaten like this all the time? The prodigal sword does not have that weird habit. Now, with the initiative in his hands, the giant python couldn't move and could only be manipulated by him at will. If he didn't take advantage of now to vent his anger, how could he be worthy of the series of humiliating experiences before? Roar! The giant python let out a deafening roar, and its voice was almost hoarse. It just wanted to use the terrifying sound to shock the prodigal sword to death. At this moment, the members of the Xiao organization also felt that the prodigal sword was too unbeatable. Well, if they were pythons, they would also want to beat this guy to death. It looks too irritating. Xiao Chang'an frowned as he looked at the increasingly angry python. Shouting towards the prodigal sword suspended in the sky. You're almost there, don't go on endlessly, know when enough is enough. If the giant python is completely angry by you again, has any backup plan, and wants to die with us, this will be troublesome. Ahem, we are humans, not dogs. Although we can be a little cruel, we still have to have a basic bottom line. Hearing what Xiao Chang'an said, Liang Zijian shrugged, feeling that it was somewhat reasonable, so he stopped humiliating the giant python. However, the giant python still stared at Liang Zijian. I'm afraid it will cast a shadow over my heart for the rest of my life. Planting trees for all, 3 consecutive SSS-level talents at the beginning. Author, Immortal. Chapter 487. After the python was completely imprisoned, the world suddenly became a lot quieter. Xiao Chang'an and others gathered together and said next, we can't keep holding on to the python like this. We have to find a way to enter the pyramid and solve the real boss. Everyone nodded. Although there were no other monsters around, the python has probably consumed the huge power of the abyss. After the dog head is eliminated, new monsters cannot be summoned for the time being, but it has been consuming the same amount of energy as the python. There is no other way. Are they just going to stay here without eating or drinking? Hey, this ink-colored chain doesn't seem to require all our strength. Let's try first to see how many people can tie this python in place. The remaining people should immediately go to the pyramid and eliminate the core monsters inside. Everyone quickly thought of this method. Langzijian raised his hand proactively and said, I stay here and watch this python, and my mental power has reached SSS level plus, so it should be no problem to imprison its head. No one objects to this proposal. Anyway, it's the same for everyone. The head of the giant python is the most powerful place. It does require a relatively powerful combat force with slightly higher mental power than others to execute it. This job. The remaining people began to allocate personnel. Xiao Chang'an slowly loosened the chains and said, I should lead the team to the pyramid to end the final battle. The other stronger teammates also released their chains and followed Xiao Chang'an forward. Bai Yu and Anil also followed. They have relatively high fighting abilities. Going to the final battle, they have a greater chance of winning. The remaining weak people stayed where they were and restrained the python. This was a more reasonable tactical allocation. Su Qing hesitated for a moment and planned to stay where he was and restrain the python. However, at this moment, Xiao Chang'an suddenly turned his head. Go, look at Su Qing, and make suggestions. Su Qing, I suggest you follow us. Su Qing said with some surprise, but my strength is relatively weak. Xiao Chang'an explained, strength is second. When we go to the pyramid next, we may encounter many unknown things, such as encountering unknown monsters. You have a single eye, the ability to analyze monster skills and strength, and can predict unknown dangers in advance. This point cannot be replaced by other sacred tree masters. As our database, how can you not follow us forward? After Su Qing heard this, she nodded with a smile, then loosened her chains and joined the exploration of the pyramid team. In fact, it is an honor for the members of the Akatsuki organization to be able to join this team. Because, this means that she has enough strength to act with the strong, perform tasks, and explore. Therefore, when Su Qing heard that she could follow other teammates to the pyramid, she showed more pride. Okay, the team has almost been selected, let's set off now. Xiao Chang'an looked around and said loudly. The prodigal sword grinned, don't worry, you can go. I'm here, and that stupid python can't even think of leaving here. The members of the Akatsuki organization are also extremely confident. At the beginning, when they came to such distant coordinates, they would feel afraid when facing unknown enemies. However, the guardian angels showed strong defense capabilities and could let them be immune to all harm, try to deal with these monsters unscrupulously, and find ways to deal with them, thus building their own self-confidence. Now, the members of the Akatsuki organization will no longer be afraid of how difficult this copy is. Even if something happens, as long as the president takes action, there is probably nothing he can't do. You know, as a summoned familiar, the guardian angel can release any domain skill at will, and no harm will be done to them. How powerful is this? What kind of strength is this? And what is the strength of the president himself, even without a guardian angel? Everyone felt unbelievable. On the way, yellow sand covered the sky. Xiao Chang'an and others had left the place where the giant python was imprisoned, and continued to walk towards the depths of the pyramid. The more they walked, the darker the sky around them felt, as if there was an invisible pressure hanging over them. On his body, Xiao Chang'an opened the panel and sent a message to the president of the Xiao organization. Xiao Chang'an, President, we killed the dog head and got a lot of magic saint-level staffs. Can we give these to you? Akatsuki organization President, no need, These weapons don't mean much to me. Xiao Chang'an, then let me give you one? Is one always okay? In my own name. Akatsuki Organization President, it's not impossible. After opening the transaction panel, Lu Shu successfully received the death staff presented by Xiao Chang'an and casually checked its attributes. It is higher than the legendary grade, but a little lower than the mythical grade. Although it is used in general, if it is in the field of magic, then he really can't find a better weapon for the time being, so he puts it away. Come down. He opened the chat interface and sent a message to Xiao Chang'an. The battle is not over yet, be careful around you. Planting trees for all, 3 consecutive SSS-level talents at the beginning. Author, Immortal. Chapter 488. Be careful around you. Xiao Chang'an's pupils shrank instantly. As the president of the Xiao organization, with such a powerful and incredible ability, naturally what he said would not be nonsense. In other words, they are continuing to move forward, and the next road will you encounter other more powerful monsters here? It seems that it is not just a python. Xiao Chang'an quickly and simply replied. Good. Then, he turned to look at the other team members, and said with a serious face. Attention everyone. The president sent us a message, asking us to be careful about the monsters nearby. The battle is not over yet. The closer you get to the pyramid, the more powerful the divine fluctuations there are. We must concentrate our attention and observe the surrounding situation. If anything is wrong, report it immediately without hesitation. Do you understand? The members nodded one after another. They continued to move forward. The cold wind kept blowing from all sides. The yellow sand was flying nearby, and the sight ahead was a bit invisible. At this time, Bai Yu's white eyes, it played a huge role. No matter how huge the obstacles in front of her were, her white eyes could always see all the situations. You follow me and I will lead the way. Bai Yu shouted loudly. Everyone replied in the channel, okay. With such a large amount of dust, if you just open your mouth slightly, I am afraid that a pile of dust will fly to the inside. Fortunately, the guardian angel once again released a protective light, and all the members were shrouded in goose yellow light. Inside the hood, they advanced slowly. Along the way, the storm became stronger and stronger. The aura of death became larger and larger. The members of the Akatsuki organization felt a faint sense of uneasiness. At this moment, boom! Rumble! Suddenly, a deafening sound erupted from the desert land. The whole earth began to shake violently. What happened? There is a natural disaster near here. Is there a monster out there? No, it seems that the geographical environment has changed drastically. Look, that pyramid seems to be getting further and further away from us. The members of the Akatsuki organization immediately followed Bai Yu's gaze. They suddenly discovered that the deathly aura surrounding the pyramid gradually became farther and farther away. The black sand and dust obscured their vision. Or Bai Yu used resonance to share her vision with other sacred tree masters, and then she saw the nearby scene. The pyramid seemed to be alive, getting farther and farther away from everyone. Click. 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 A burst of the sound of landslides and ground cracking came from under their feet. The members of the Akatsuki organization looked down and found that the earth was cracking, and endless lifeless energy seeped out from the cracked surface. The polluted black energy was like a stream of tentacles continued to spread upwards. Several abysses suddenly appeared on the flat land, and they began to be deformed by the violent internal force. Everyone's footsteps became shaky, and it was difficult to stand in this environment. Stable. Let's fly first. Xiao Chang'an immediately commanded. Everyone nodded, and a sword light flashed across their bodies. They used their sword intent and flew with their swords. Their figures quickly turned into a stream of light, leaving the ground, and immediately flew into the sky. Sand dust. The haze gradually became thinner and thinner, and the vision in front of me continued to become clearer. At this moment, an exclamation sounded. Look! Everyone looked at the sound and were suddenly shocked. They saw several black tornadoes appearing under the nearby sky, crawling on the horizon like giant monsters. The black tornadoes were mixed with majestic tornadoes. The death energy moved on the earth, connecting the sky and the earth, like moving mountains. Everyone looked at the scene in front of them, and their hearts trembled. They felt their own insignificance amidst the power of nature. As the surrounding terrain with the changes, the position of the pyramid also moved towards the distance, trying to distance itself from the people here. Bayou said calmly, I speculate that the master of the abyss also senses the threat on us and knows that if we summon monsters, they won't be able to deal with us, so we create a natural disaster terrain. Xiao Chang'an nodded. I agree with your analysis, but the problem we have to face now is how can we pass through these tornadoes and catch up with the speed of the pyramid away from us? Anil smiled. If you put it this way, I can show off some of my special skills. Zizza! Zizza! The majestic lightning covered Anil's body. The endless thunder and lightning made an amazing roar, as if it wanted to tear the sky to pieces and destroy the earth. At this moment, Bayou threw his Byakugan. He saw thunder and lightning of inestimable magnitude covering this area, and his eyes couldn't help but become heavy. Domain. Anil was actually a domain-level powerhouse. At that moment, thunder and lightning covered everyone. Everyone found that they were wearing Leikai and stepping on a thunder and fire wheel. Is this a power in the thunder and lightning field? Xiao Chang'an's eyes lit up and he said with a smile, if there is a thunder and lightning field, then we don't have to worry about speed. Anil smiled and said, okay, brothers, let's rush over together. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Planting trees for all, 3 consecutive SSS-level talents at the beginning. Author, Immortal. Chapter 489. Everyone's eyes also lit up slightly. Unexpectedly, there is actually an owner of the lightning field hidden in the team. This is a field-level powerhouse. Looking at the entire sacred tree world, it can be said that the sacred tree masters with domains are among the best. They are all the presidents or core figures of super guilds and top guilds. With this kind of existence, in the past, no matter who appeared in front of them, they would need to take a deep breath and think about how to show reasonable admiration and attract the attention of the boss. However, such a little girl, who looks ordinary, can actually use the lightning field. The thunder and lightning field is not very low among the attributes of all fields. It is considered a relatively powerful field. Appearing within the Akatsuki organization, no one was surprised. On the contrary, it feels reasonable. Moreover, they can now look at such a strong person with equal eyes, and Anil has never felt that his status is superior to others. Instead, he is like a follower, following the orders of the team, obeying the arrangements, and executing every step of the action. This is where the true confidence of being a member of the Akatsuki organization lies. Sizzle! Sizzle! Electric light covered everyone's bodies, and their speed suddenly received a huge blessing. It turned into a silver lightning, instantly passing through the patches of haze, passing through the tornado that wanted to tear everything apart, passing through the earth that was constantly cracking and trying to collapse. The tornado was far away. He was left behind and stopped slightly in place, seemingly unable to understand why these people's speed was so exaggerated. The collapse of the earth also stopped, because it found that it was impossible to bring any obstacles to this group of people. Ha 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 ha, the lightning field is covered. This is so cool, the speed is simply amazing. I have experienced such a fast speed in my life, it feels like flying. Take off. Take off. This is much more exciting than flying with my sword. As long as I run fast enough, Doomsday's speed can't keep up with me. The Guardian field plus the Lightning field, the ultimate speed plus the ultimate defense, it is simply invincible. Lu Shu stood behind the airship, looking at Xiao organizing everyone's actions, and nodded slightly. Yes, it seems that the Thunder and Lightning field I gave to Anil has played a lot of roles. It has reached the field level. Yes, the Thunder and Lightning field is the reward that Lu Shu asked Anil to go and conquer when he was in the Endless Tower. Originally, facing this field, Anil wanted to give it to Lu Shu. She felt that she was not very good. I was so embarrassed to take it. However, Lu Shu had the reincarnation domain at that time and felt that the attributes of the Thunder and Lightning domain were a bit low. In order to better impact the God-level realm, he did not choose the Thunder and Lightning domain, but looked for a higher level domain. Therefore, the inheritance of the Thunder Emperor belongs to Anil. This is the inheritance of an upper world figure. Moreover, his status may be higher than Luo Shui, reaching the level of the second order and third order true gods of E domain. For the Thunder Emperor, it is just the threshold for entry into the field of Thunder and Lightning. There is still a lot of room for improvement. However, Lu Shu was also slightly surprised by Enli's progress. After all, he did not expect this. The girl understood the Thunder Emperor's inheritance to a domain level so quickly. In today's world of sacred trees, she can also become a master. Anil has grown and improved so much, and it does not rely on Lu Shu's the fruit of the sacred tree, but her own efforts, understanding, and determination. Lu Shu nodded, feeling very pleased with this. This is a qualified way of growth, and you don't need to rely on yourself. At this moment, his brows furrowed slightly, and he sensed that the battlefield outside seemed to have caused a big sensation. It was the war between the Monster Legion and other Divine Tree Master guilds. The resonant vision switched directly to it. In the picture, a group of Sacred Tree Masters are trying to use the technique of pulling monsters to separate some monster legions, and then join forces with other masters to eliminate them together. However, this monster legion has enough wisdom and will not be fooled at all. Instead, several traps were set up to trap the Sacred Tree Masters. There were several souls of the Sacred Tree Masters on the field. If they were picked up, they could continue to upgrade the monster army. The sickle covered with the ghostly atmosphere, passed directly through the chest of a young Sacred Tree Master, his eyes kicked up, his whole body turned black, and gradually dissolved into a ball of black water, which looked shocking. When this video was uploaded to the world public, the screen suddenly caused a group of people to exclaim, "Oh my God, what kind of monster is this? Isn't it so scary? It's like the feeling of the abyss of reincarnation is coming back again." However, hadn't the original batch of monsters been killed by the tree lubbers? He also achieved the first kill. Ha ha ha, a group of super guilds can't do anything to defeat the dungeon monsters again. It's really embarrassing. A group of them, after devoting so much resources, are not as good as a tree-plumping man alone. How shameful! Even so, I don't know what to be arrogant about. The members of the Super Guild were furious when they heard these words, but there was nothing they could do against the monsters. What else can be done? Are you really going to invite the tree lifter? Planting trees for all, 3 consecutive SSS-level talents at the beginning. Author, Immortal. Chapter 490. What should we do? The invasion of the Grey World seems to be only a few days away. We really can't defeat these monsters. In the League of Shadows, an assassin turned into a shadow, like a dark tide, and suddenly came in front of Dark Knight. His expression looked very worried. To be honest, after the last time of the Abyss of Reincarnation, I encountered this again. A group of weird monsters have already cast a shadow on everyone's psychology. If you really bite the bullet and kill these monsters, the end will probably not be good, right? And yes, brows furrowed deeply, and it could be seen that he was also thinking about this matter carefully. To be honest, now, the leader of the Dark Knight Alliance is no longer the overly arrogant young man he was before, but has become much more profound. It was also because the Dark Knight Alliance he founded had suffered so many blows that the sacred tree masters of this organization had to act cautiously. That's right. The sacred tree masters of this organization have gradually developed into a school of Godeo instead of a school of killing. Anya pondered for a while, and then said, in that case, let's go back. Ah! The surrounding subordinates blinked, a little unimaginable that such an answer would come from Anya's mouth. That was the once popular hero in the world of the Divine Tree Master. Are you just giving in? Humph, then what do you want? Am I going to lead the charge, give away the heads, and let you learn from the experience? Anya looked at the members in the guild, cursed angrily, and said angrily. Ahem, let's leave then. The other assassins don't dare to say anything. Did you hear that? The leader of the alliance feels that taking the initiative to attack is no different from giving away someone's life. Should their group of younger brothers still go there to hang out? Isn't this because they don't want to die fast enough? All members of the Shadow Assassins immediately returned home. The base camps established in various places were evacuated one after another. The next invasion of the Grey World is coming soon, and they have no intention of staying here. It is better to go back early. Be prepared and recharge your batteries for the next battle. All those lunatics from the League of Shadows have gone back. Ha ha ha, it seems that the monster army last time made them suffer a lot. Wait, if you put it this way, the temperament of this monster army is really similar to that of the group that reincarnated into the abyss last time. It can't be the same group, right? Do you want to eat shit? Those monsters have been killed by the tree lubberers, and they are several coordinates away. How could they meet here? Are you suffering from some kind of paranoia? Do you want me to take you to see the psychological series The Divine Tree Master? Haha, no need, I'll just say a few words. Brother, why are you so irritable? The members of the Divine Tree Masters Alliance Legion, several super guilds, top guilds, and various large, medium and small guilds gathered together to eat barbecue, skewer, and drink, while chatting and playing mahjong. When they learned that all members of the Shadow Assassin were leaving, after a brief period of shock, they all laughed loudly. What the mob likes to do most is to slander heroes, especially some big shots. Because this can make them feel that I have a very strong presence, as if when I belittle others, I am standing high in the clouds. However, some people also question the Dark Knight Alliance has acted so decisively, so this group of monsters will not easy to deal with. A boy with a flat head held an empty wine bottle, shook it twice, and said with disdain, "Why, you are just like those cowards from the Dark Knight Alliance. When you encounter a group of grey monsters, you start to be afraid." With such a retort, the little dwarf immediately hit his head and groaned. Who said I was scared? Didn't I think twice before I act? Besides, the guys from the Dark Knight Alliance backed away. In fact, they are not sure about our next actions. Is there any benefit? Another man with a crew cut felt that this was reasonable, and nodded. Yes, and besides, haven't you seen the videos that were sent back from the front line a few days ago? These monster legions look quite weird, as if they have combat intelligence. Several sacred tree masters have been tricked to death by them. Ah! The other sacred tree masters sitting there were obviously not well informed and were not that well informed. After hearing this information, they all showed surprised expressions. A woman snorted disdainfully, held her head in her hands, and pouted. What you said is not true, is it? The monsters in the Grey World are just a group of puppets that only act in accordance with their instincts and rules in the wilderness. As long as they find the rules, they can fight. In my opinion, it was just because those sacred tree masters were too stupid and found the wrong rules, so they died. When the flat-headed man heard this, he did not object and shook his head inwardly. he believed that the world in the gray world is bigger than they imagined, and anything could happen. Why do you think that his experience has always been the same? Can solve all problems and is always correct? Of course, there is no need for him to say the sentence. After all, he is not very familiar with these people. When encountering disputes in concepts, he sometimes does not speak and often argues over a point. Much easier,